So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing 3 things I think you should be doing to get your site as fast as possible. Hey boutique owner and other e-commerce friends, Angela here, CEO of Hot Mess Consulting. So there's something that's been coming up a lot lately, Google PageSpeed Insights. Thanks a bunch, Google. We are all kind of obsessed with site speeds, but you just made our lives 10 times more complicated. We get asked constantly about this page speed score, and I'm like pulling my hair out about it every time. PS in advance, if you want to make sure you never miss a thing, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post new videos. So, site speed is important, very important, no doubt about it. 79% of customers dissatisfied with a site's performance are less likely to buy from them again. And ideally, we are looking for a site to load in under 3 seconds. If your site is slow to load, you will lose potential customers. They'll just bounce off or go to someone who provides a better experience. So in this video today, I'm going to be sharing 3 things I think you should be doing to get your site as fast as possible. And I'm going to give you the scoop on why we are not at all a fan of that blessed speed score. So let's dive in. But first, go ahead and subscribe while you're here. So page speeds. What's the deal, Google? PageSpeed score is based on Google Lighthouse performance metrics. Say that one 5 times fast. And as a warning, to really follow their suggestions may require technical knowledge like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, just to start with. So instead, let's talk about some more basic factors that you can control in terms of your website speed. Your theme that you're on, whether that's optimized. Any special coding customizations that you've added to your theme, any videos that are on your website, any apps that are installed, all of your images. This is graphics, product photos, you name it. Your fonts, have you added any special fonts to your theme? And then, of course, there's the factors that you just cannot control in terms of your website speed. So your customer's location, device, and network, just absolutely nothing you can do about that, right? And your platform, so whether it's Shopify or wherever, but Shopify's own infrastructure. Every single platform will have some limitations that will affect speed. Which Shopify is pretty great. They do have a lot of measures in place to help, especially if you're on a great theme, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But still, there are going to be limitations out of your control. So don't get us wrong. Page speed is super, super important. 79% of customers dissatisfied with the site's performance are less likely to buy from them again. 64% of smartphone users expect a website to load in 4 seconds or less, ideally less. 47% of online shoppers in general expect web pages to load in 2 seconds or less. So as you can see, every single second matters here. And speeding up a page by just 1 second boosted conversions by 7%. So, this obviously depends too on how much traffic you're actually getting to your website, and also how useful it is to increase your conversion rates. Again, if you're only getting 15 hits a day to your site, that big of a conversion boost isn't really going to help you a whole lot in terms of revenue. But when you're getting enough traffic, absolutely, page speed is super crucial. So let's talk about, if we're saying, the Google PageSpeed Insights are a load of hooey, which I'll go over a little bit later too. What are some things that you actually can do that will make a difference? So number one, we want to talk about 3 things. The first one is to optimize your images. So your images, again, your graphics, product photos, any image on your whole website. These make up 50 to 75% of a web page's total weight. And slow pages are 90% caused by images being incorrectly sized or images that are not in the right file format, things like that. So what can you actually do here, right? So one is compress your photos before you upload them. There's a number of ways to do this. You can simply resize the dimensions, the pixel dimensions, either in Photoshop or Canva. You can use a website like tinyjpg.com, which you can just upload your image and it will compress it for you. Or there are even some apps in Shopify. Most of them are paid, but they're super low cost. that will either do this for you automatically, say like every week, it'll go through your whole site. Any new images that you've added, it will compress them for you automatically. Or you can do it where you set it manually. So every time you upload, a bunch of new products, you're like, hey, run this app and it'll compress everything. So what this does is it literally, resizes those photos in terms of the file sizes to as small files as possible without degrading the image, right? So that to your user, there is no visual difference, but the file size is able to load quicker. Another thing that you can do is turn on lazy loading. So I'll explain what this is, but on your theme, some themes have this built in where you can just choose this as an option. Otherwise, it's just a tiny little bit of coding that's needed. You're welcome to email us, support@hotmesshustle.com if you need help with this. But basically, it's kind of almost what it sounds like. Lazy loading is where when your visitor gets to your site, especially if they haven't been there before, because this speed, like when someone is a regular user on your site, your website is actually going to load faster because their browser has already loaded some of those things and have, those stored in their cookies. I mean, unless they're always clearing those out. But anyway, so lazy loading, when they get to your site, it may, for example, on your homepage, show a lower resolution image for a second or two, or however long it takes before it can go through and actually show the full resolution. So your user is getting something while they're waiting for the full quality page to load. The second thing to work on for your site speed is remove any unused, unnecessary, clunky apps. Or apps that you're already not using, but you never fully removed. So let me get into this app thing for a second. There's a few things to know. One, anybody on earth, even your uncle's granny who has very little coding experience, I know, weird example, but can create an app on the Shopify App Store. So the question is that app well coded? Like, did the person that created really even know what they were doing? Or, like maybe they kind of knew, but did they create something that was going to really slow down your site? Because we've seen it all, but some things that happen, sometimes you add an app and it creates like some really funky thing that messes with something really important or visually important on your website. Or it can just really slow things down because when someone visits your site, it wants to load all of those things, all of your images and all of your apps before it actually shows to your customer. And again, with every second matters, an app that is not well coded is going to be a detriment here. Because what happens is when you add an app, it actually installs coding in various spots wherever it's needed in order to do its thing. Now, here's the kicker is that you can't just go to your Shopify apps, look at the laundry list there, and delete which ones you don't use or want, because it doesn't actually solve the problem. That coding that was installed for that app is still actually going to be in your theme, possibly slowing things down. So when you remove something, some apps actually have an uninstall option, which conceivably could remove that coding. But honestly, to be safe, I would still just either email that app team to ask for all related coding to be removed from your theme, or bring in your own coding developer to make sure that happens. We did find a cool app for you, though, called Findify. That's a great option to remove some duplicate coding, which can cause looping. So when somebody's trying to load the site, it's basically trying to do the same thing over and over again, and it's slowing things down. So check out this app and see if it can help you remove anything. But otherwise, make sure all of the apps that you need are reputable. So check ratings, number of ratings, reviews, or if it's a newer app or just that app hasn't gotten a lot of traction, but it's something you really need, just keep in mind, like how things are on your site before and after you add that, and see sometimes there's something you can do too in terms of like if a particular app really does have a negative effect, email that app team and tell them about it. Maybe there's something that they can think of that would help. So the last thing I want to mention is making sure that you're on a speed optimized theme. So this is one reason why we highly recommend Out of the Sandbox themes for all of our clients at outofthesandbox.com. Is these we know are high quality, extremely well coded themes and they absolutely do care about speed. Even though these themes are also feature rich, they're done again in a very clean way to not slow things down. So obviously the Shopify theme store is also great. There are some other great companies there that create themes as well. I would not recommend going outside of Out of the Sandbox or Shopify for a theme. You might find some really neat themes that look really neat that are low cost, but you just don't know if you can trust the coding on that theme. And, sometimes something may look cool, but does it work? And that's really what's most important here, right? So also making sure that your theme is up to date because things are changing, well, in tech all the time anyway, but on Shopify specifically, things are changing all the time. So we've also seen it where, and in some cases, the theme doesn't even have to be that old to cause an issue, but if there were some updates on the Shopify side and your theme is not the latest version, sometimes things can go wrong. Sometimes things that are pretty important to your site too. So then again, we've seen clients that have had the same thing for 5+ years and there are no issues. The site speed's not really an issue. And if that's the case, I mean, don't broke what isn't fixed. Don't fix what isn't broken. But it is something good that if you're able to update your theme every year or two even, it is a good practice to get into. Now, when you do load a new theme, the new version of the theme, which by the way, when you buy a theme, again, from Shopify or Into the Sandbox, you are eligible to always upgrade whenever they come out with updates for free. But you're also starting basically from a blank theme. So it needs to be reset up, recustomized, which all of that is fine. I mean, it takes a little bit of time or money if you want to outsource, right? But the biggest issue is if you did do a lot of custom coding development, that stuff is tied to that theme. So when you update to a new version of the theme, you do lose all of the coding customization. So that is something to keep in mind in terms of helping you make these decisions. But anyway, just make sure you're on a great theme. We recommend Turbo. That's what I use for Hot Mess and for my own boutique. So why are we not a fan of the Google PageSpeed score, though? I know we haven't actually said why. Well, basically because the score just sucks. A perfect score is unattainable. In fact, you can talk to other agencies. This isn't just our clients. Kurt with the Unofficial Shopify podcast, for example, he'll tell you the same thing. Across the board, we've not seen a good score. It's possible to get like an average page speed score, and that's honestly maybe what you want to go for. But the other thing is that successful sites, a lot of the successful sites that we see don't even necessarily have a good score. And some of the fixes on the list that they recommend either are literally not possible or they're just not practical. So again, we've seen businesses, multi-million-dollar e-com businesses that have page speed scores as low as 5, 6, 7. Like basically the bottom line is just to not let this score trip you up, or make you lose focus, because it's really easy to get distracted by new things that you need to do to make your website better. But, what works, and your time is valuable. Like, don't spend it here is basically what I'm saying. Do spend it on the other things that I mentioned in this video to speed up your site. Yes, but then leave it alone and just don't worry about that score. So, as a wrap up, your site speed and page load speed are absolutely important, but your Google PageSpeed Insight score is just always going to be low. So, final reminder, your Google PageSpeed Insight score does not correlate to your actual page load speed in seconds or what your customers want. So, bottom line, just don't worry about it, but do worry about your speed by focusing on the 3 things that we mentioned here. So that's a wrap on Google PageSpeed Insights. If you're worried about your page speed, start with these 3 things, and that should address a lot of the issues, and you'll see site speeds and user experience improve. But if site speed still gives you a headache, let us know in the comments. We're here for you, girl. And again, if you love our stuff, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we post new videos. Till next time. Need more? Check out the blog at hotmessblog.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel too. Cheers!